What is going on, my beautiful people? So today we are going to be reacting to Manchester United, the definition of insane by Vizzy. Yeah, I'm a United fan. I know pain, but I've survived pain for what is it now, about what, 11 years? No, 10 years. Next year to be 11 years. So yeah, it's not looking good right now for us in every aspect of everything that could be everything in a football club. So yeah, let's check out what Vizzy has to say about the current state of madness, of insanity that we currently find ourselves in. Appreciate all the love and support. Without further ado, let's get into it.
The definition of insanity. Insanity is doing the exact same thing over and over again, expecting different results. I present to you Manchester United. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not want to do this video, mainly because I've done enough videos on Manchester United recently.
Mate, I too am tired. Like I don't want to be sitting down here watching this. Like I'm tired, man. Every week it seems there's some issue. It's the Glazers, or it's Jim Ratcliffe, or it's the state of the club, or it's the performance on the pitch, or it's Ten Hag, or it's the amount of debt, it's the amount of players that we owe, it's player drama. It's something. It's every day is something with United. So I've tried to stay away, bruv, but it seems like I can't escape it. So I'm going to just tackle it head on, man.
I don't need to do another one. However, it's getting to a level here that I just got to talk about them. I've never done a video strictly on Manchester United, the football club. I've talked about the players, even the manager, but as a club, I've never really delved into it. And that's because, well, it's been done 1,000 times before.
Yeah.
But hey, that never stopped me. And also because we have hit over a decade now since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, and we've got a large amount of data to really collect here, to really give us the insanity. So down below, tell me your thoughts on Manchester United. What do you think about them as a football club, and what do you think needs to change? Probably the ownership. There is going to be some new ownership soon. It's looking likely. Man United are entering a key transitional point, and they need to nail this, otherwise nothing will ever change. Now, of course, who am I? I'm a random. I do not have the answers, but I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say here. Smash a like button, let's try to hit 3,000 likes. Thank you all so much for loving the channel. Subscribe, we are so close to 400,000 subscribers. I hope to hit it by the end of the year, so please help me out. And 15% off all items on my own design company, mazzoladesigns.co.uk. Link is at the top of the description. The best gifts for Christmas for yourself, your friends, your loved ones, for pretty much any club in the world, and especially Manchester United Prince. Link down below. And yeah, let's get into it. So, why do I call Manchester United the definition of insanity? You've played Far Cry 3, right? Okay, at least you have heard of Far Cry 3. As we are now entering into the second season, deep into a Manchester United's manager's tenure, we are already seeing the same recycled articles being put out. It is always the second season where the cracks start to form, and usually the third kills them off. If you just type up the cycle of Man United on Google, you will find the following: hire a new manager, make 3 or 4 signings they want, get Champions League, make no signings, and release a search for a director of football article, get safe because of lack of reinforcements, and then sack the manager for poor performance. Or how about this one? Sack the manager, appoint new manager, sign players overpriced to say we backed the manager, finish in top 4, take the money out of the club every year and let it rot with no infrastructure and $1 billion of debt. Second season, let down the manager, don't get him his priorities, just B or C options, as we have UCL football, and then start underperforming and the fan base turning on the manager, and then you sack him again.
It's facts. It's okay. So Moyes didn't even really have 3 seasons. He barely had one. I think he stayed there for like 7 or 8 months before he got sacked. Then there was Louis van Gaal, who got sacked in his second season after winning the FA Cup. Same exact thing happened to him. And then it's Mourinho. Mourinho got sacked in his third season after finishing second the season before, but didn't get backed and he was sacked. Ole got like, how many seasons did Ole get? So Ole got 18. So he took over from Mourinho. So that was like half a season, but I would say 18, 19, 19, 20, and then 2021. So he was sacked, I think, in 2021. And then in 20. Actually, no, okay, wait. I'm going to have to do some mental maths here. So we finished first season under Ole. I think we finished what was it, 4th? Hang on a minute. I'm struggling here a bit. Yeah, okay. So I was correct. So he got 3 seasons. I don't know if I said he got 3 seasons. I think I did. Whatever. 18-19 was his first full season, 19-20, and then 2021. And then he got sacked about November, December time during the 2021-22 season. Same exact thing happened. He got Champions League football, refused to back him, sacked. I think Ole's case is just a bit slightly different because he wasn't as good a manager as Jose or Van Gaal. But same exact thing. I was seeing the same exact thing happen to Ten Hag. So yeah, it's if we sack, that's why I look at people saying, "Oh, sack Ten Hag and whatnot." I'm not trying to justify the fact that we're playing horrendous football right now. We are. I'm not going to justify it. I'm not going to say that you're wrong. You're not wrong. It's horrible. But we've done this. This is literally our 4th manager. Ole, Mourinho, Van Gaal. This is going, even Rangnick, but I don't really count him as a manager since we're just there in the interim. This is going to be the 4th manager that we're going to do this to. We're going to give him first season. He's going to have a good first season, and then we're going to give him a good first season. He'll have a good first season, and then he'll get in Champions League. We won't back him, and then third season comes, he gets sacked. It's going to happen again for a 4th time. And if we sack Ten Hag without fixing the management team above him, it's just going to happen again. It's really just going to happen again. So when I see people say, "Oh, sack Ten Hag, this, that, and the other, whatever," if you want to sack him, sack him. It's not going to change anything. If the structure above Ten Hag does not change, sacking Ten Hag is not going to change anything because it's going to be rinse and repeat from now to the end of time. Okay, just need to get that off my chest. Back to the video.
This has happened for pretty much every manager. Erik Ten Hag, despite being the fastest manager to 50 wins in United's history, I believe, which by no means is something to be underestimated, he is still under unbelievable pressure. Despite winning a good amount of their recent games, they aren't by any means.
To be fair, I think we are the form team in the Premier League right now. I think we've won 4 of our last 5 games. Or 6th. Like, think about it. We've been playing horrendous football. We're 6th in the league. We are what? 3 points off top 4? 3 or 4? And like 7 off the top. And we have truly been playing shocking stuff. I'm not gonna say that we're gonna be, but it's just food for thought.
Means convincing, each one of them being incredibly scrappy, beating Brentford but by 2 mad comebacks in the 90th minute by Scott McTominay, beating Sheffield United again by a late goal by Diego Dallo, losing to City in an embarrassing fashion, being completely outclassed at home, but then they beat Fulham away, which they scored a last minute winner, and then they beat Luton at home, 1-0.
Yeah, I didn't say the wins were great. As I've said, we're playing horrendous football. I'm just saying the fact that we're scrapping out wins is kind of shocking. Kind of shocking.
They beat Luton 1-0 at home. I mean, it's 4 wins and 5, so fair play, but by no means is it giving fans a lot of hope. And
Not
throughout
really.
this, of course, many losses in the Cups or in the Champions Leagues, like Copenhagen, like Newcastle, and also like Galatasaray at home. And with United currently being in 6th place and already forming a gap between the rest of the pack, it looks like the cycle may continue again. But that's where we're at
5 points.
right now. Let's go into the details. Why is Ten Hag under pressure? 3 key things. Number 1, transfers. Erik Ten Hag has been given the reins, so to say, to get quite a few amount of players into the club. This includes high expensive signings such as Antony, Lisandro Martinez.
That video was not necessary. Also, I'm a child apparently. That's great. 1 second. Back.
Casemiro, Malacia, Eriksen, and in this new season, Højlund, Mason Mount, and Onana, and Amrabat too. Now, how many of the players I just listed would you say are successful signings? Some of them you may say, well, they deserve some time. Antony, 95 million euro. It's not like he was paid for 40, 50, and he's not exactly reached expectations. Casemiro had a great season last year. However, for 70 million euros, people are concerned the fact that he already may be losing his legs in his second year of his tenure. Lisandro Martinez, you could say, is probably a good enough success and sadly is injured right now, and Malacia is a backup left back this season. Højlund and Onana for a good amount of money, but they still deserve time. However, Mason Mount is a strange one as he spent 64 million euro and he's not even a starter.
So I think the Mason Mount thing is, at first I was wondering why, but then I realized it's the same reason why we can't sell Maguire and McTominay, because they're homegrown players and we need them for registration reasons. I think maybe Ten Hag had a style of play in mind and thought Mount to be a good fit. But what probably drove it more is that the fact that he's homegrown in England, which helps United in their registration worries or issues and whatnot. So that's probably kind of why. I think you're allowed a maximum of 17 foreigners, and 8 of them have to be home. So 8 of your 25-man squad kind of has to be homegrown. So I think that was why Mount was purchased, because to spend 60 whatever million that we did on Mount, like I like the guy. I like Mount. Like I think we still need to give him time. I didn't like the fact he took the number 7, but hopefully he goes on to prove me wrong. But Mount is just not a 60-something million pound player. At the very least, you buy someone else that money, or if you're buying Mount for that money, like you play him in his like best position. And I can't tell you what Mason Mount's best position is. I know he's very good in lots of positions. Maybe his best is coming off the left slightly. I think that was where he was at his best in Chelsea. But I really can't tell you what his best position is. And Rashford is playing on the left. Bruno is playing in the 10, so you can't really play Mount in 10. You can't play Mount or Bruno together because you're essentially leaving too much for Casemiro to do. It's all a mess. It's just all a mess. The signing doesn't look like it makes sense for right now, but hopefully it pays off. Hopefully.
So why would they spend that much money on him in the first place? It's a strange one, because the main concern is when they signed him, where was he going to play? And to this day, in November, I still don't think anyone knows exactly where he's meant to play in the system. And that leads me on to number 2. System. In the Premier League, at the top elite clubs especially, you have a system, a playing style. You know before you even watch them play exactly what they're going to do. When Erik ten Hag came to Old Trafford, there was an expectation that he was going to try to replicate the playing style, the expansive, almost tiki-taka style of football that they played at Ajax, with attacking football, and basically unlock the players to release them and to have complete creative freedom. And he's been given players that he's quite well aware of. I mean, Antony, Onana, Lisandro Martinez, Malacia, players that he's very well aware of. He can't say that he's not brought in players that he knows, players that you would say are probably his players. Erik ten Hag last month said that he will never be able to replicate the style of football he oversaw at Ajax with this current Manchester United team, despite having 4 or 5 players in the team that he brought in personally. He vowed to bring in a proactive, brave and adventurous style that belongs to the culture of Manchester United. However, he's currently playing a lot more direct, and he's been trying to turn United into a transitional team. However,
To be fair, we've never really won. I think that press conference thing was kind of taken just slightly out of context. I don't think we have the players like in Ajax. The players coming into the system that from their youth setup play the tiki taka way from the Johan Cruyff philosophy, and it's just Ajax is set up in that way. The players that are brought in from the youth system play that way. They buy players from different clubs that sort of fit that same style of short passing. I mean, Ajax have been horrible this season, but let's not talk about this season. Usually, that's what Ajax do. So he doesn't have the players to do it. Eriksen is good on the ball in terms of like short passing, like play. But Bruno is quite adventurous in his passing. Like he likes playing a lot of long balls. You have Rashford, you have Antony, who I would say both are very direct players. None of them are really sort of 1-2, and I don't know why we don't have more of the 1-2 play, but none of them are really sort of like build up play technical. They're more run at give them spacing behind, let them run and let them attack their fullbacks. Maguire, Varane, I think Lisandro Martinez is quite good on the ball. Casemiro has never really been a passer. Shaw is just hit or miss sometimes. When he's good, he's good, but when he's not good, he's not good. And Shaw again has never been like a like a tiki-taka guy. So we just don't have Wan-Bissaka is not someone that's going to be playing the intricate passes and through balls to the central midfielders. Like we just simply Onana, Lisandro Martinez, Eriksen to a certain extent. I would put Bruno there because he has very good vision and he can find the pass, but he's more of a direct passer. So really, you're looking at 3 players in a 25-man squad who are good passers on the ball, who are controlled, who are cultured on the ball. It's how do you expect to play that style if that's the situation you find yourself in? You can't. So I think that Ten Hag press conference or whatnot was slightly taken out of context. We are a direct team. Even under Ferguson, we were never a tiki-taka. We're more attacking, more flair, get to the wide players, get crosses in. That's how we played football. We've never been a possession team. Van Gaal tried to make us into a possession team. Didn't quite work out. We were too boring. We kept the ball, but nothing happened. Mourinho was never been a possession guy. Like we've just Man United, we've just never been a possession team. So I don't know how or why people are so shocked that Ten Hag came out and said that yes, he could probably have worked out more, but if you have players that fit a certain style, you're going to try and play that style that fit the players that you have. Simple.
However, when you compare Erik ten Hag United when he's been at the job for a year and a half and not really still having a real clear direct style of play, when you compare him to Ange at Tottenham Hotspur, you can already tell within the first 2-3 weeks that his style of play was already ingrained, and as we're seeing now is flourishing at a rate that no one could really have ever imagined. Now, is this a honeymoon period? Maybe, I don't know. Confidence does mean a lot, and confidence is something that United does not have, and also injuries do play a factor, I cannot lie.
I was about to say that we have a very big injury issue in the team right now. So we've not had a consistent sort of team lining up this season. We've not like had, I would say, our first team since, oh, what game was it? I want to say the first game of the season, but even that Hoyland didn't play that first game of the season. So I don't think we've had our complete first team play yet this season. And Ant just had that. Now that Tottenham have picked up a lot more injuries and whatnot, they lost to Chelsea and they've lost to Wolves. So yeah, that also plays a factor too.
Why they are missing at stages a large amount of their back four, and of course, by all means, injuries are a difference, but every team has them. And key factor number 3, controversy. Now, this isn't directly Ten Hag's fault, and this is why I feel almost bad for him. Man United is just, in my opinion, an impossible job, a cursed club, and I said this in a video even way early this year, saying that if Ten Hag cannot succeed at United, then I don't think anyone can. United in the past are well known into having the players almost being bigger than the club, having control of the club, and Ten Hag being much more of an authoritarian, that he can really put in a stamp on the club saying these are the standards that you will perform to. And since he's been in the club, it has been non-stop chaos. If it's Cristiano Ronaldo, with the entire saga going back and forth when he first came in, if it's of course behind the scenes of obviously Mason that he already knew of when he entered the job, and in recent times Jadon Sancho and dealing with that, and so many other things as well, including other Glazers protests week in, week out. For every 6, 7, 8 weeks of somewhat peaceful and even maybe some happiness at the club, there will be another 20 weeks of non-stop chaos. I will go into the previous tenure, but I want to drive into the Ten Hag point here. This is
so Ten Hag has had a lot of issues to do with. I think, yeah, no other manager has had the type of issues, has had to deal with the type of issues that Ten Hag has had to deal with, and I think he's dealt with most of them really well. I have my issues with Ten Hag. I feel like he has standards, but he's not holding everyone equally to those same standards. Like last season, I'd have thought so, but this season, no. Because there have been a lot of players that have played poorly this season, but he's still, well, maybe because of a lack of options, but he's still definitely, he's not dropped them. He's always played them. So I don't think there's that consistency there yet fully. So I think there's just a little bit of hypocrisy there with Ten Hag, but like Jadon Sancho. I mean, the Jadon Sancho issue, I feel like it's been allowed to get way too far. It's just been allowed to get way too far. Mason Greenwood, not really his fault. The Ronaldo issue was, oh my days. Oh my days. So yeah, he's had to deal with his fair share of problems. And fair play to him because he's handled most of them reasonably well. I would say reasonably. So yeah, it's definitely not Ten Hag's fault. Definitely not.
It's not all Ten Hag's fault. The problem is that he's becoming part of a problem that he's being suffocated into. Yes, his transfers have not been great. Antony for 90.
Even Antony has his own issues with the law. Well, I just don't understand it.
€5 million is not exactly a real amazing piece of business.
That wasn't Ten Hag's fault. So the fact that Antony was brought in for that amount of money is the fault of the people who handle transfers at Manchester United. Because if they had just brought Antony in like a couple months earlier when Ten Hag probably wanted him to be brought in, he would have cost about 40 to 50 mil. The fact that we got him after getting beaten by Brighton and then getting thumped by Brentford 4-0, that's when we pressed the button and we got Casemiro and Antony for stupidly inflated prices. If we had just handled the business early, we would have gotten him for a reasonable price and all this pressure wouldn't have been as much on Antony.
But I don't want to meme here, but this is Manchester United, okay? As what Roy Keane and all these pundits say. They're not wrong. Manchester United is the biggest team in England. Of course, if you're a Liverpool fan, you would disagree, but I mean, quantifiably across the entire world, And even in England, people joke around saying that the biggest club in London is Man United, because there's probably more people supporting United in London than anyone else. In the last 10 years, since Sir Alex left, they have entered 10 years of mediocrity off the pitch and on the pitch, which, since Fergie left, set a culture of greed, ill discipline, indecision, and uncertainty that runs throughout the entire club, from the top office to the pitch. So, here lies the question. Where did this all start? Well, I've got to say the dirty word, okay? The word that you can't really say without there being 1,000 different ideas and opinions on them. The Glazers. The Glazers took over back in 2005, which some people may find surprising if they didn't research enough. This fact alone turns people who are kind of on the outside thinking, well, the Glazers can't be that bad because they had Sir Alex then and he won many trophies in that time period. But that's kind of not the point. They already entered the club with already a culture put in place under Sir Alex that was already working on its own merits. They didn't really need to do anything, and despite them having a large amount of money themselves, Man United is potentially the biggest club in the world, commercially anyway, especially in this time period. So a lot of money that they spend is created from their own sponsorships, marketing. They spend money that they earn. This is the key detail that any United fan will tell you. When a neutral says, oh, you blame the Glazers, however they give you money. You spent £1 billion since Fergie left and you still blame the Glazers. What's wrong with you? But where did that money come from? It's not the Glazers. What they will tell you instantly is that they are not using their own money. They are using the club's money, the money that the club earns by being the biggest club in the world. And to be fair, are they the biggest club in the world? I mean, some may say yes, but I would still say it's between Barcelona or Real Madrid. And please do not forget as well, one key detail is that ever since the Glazers came in, they have quantifiably, by the balance sheets, took out over 1.1 billion out of the football club. So not only are they not putting their money in, but they're also taking the money out. I know that I sound like a United fan myself, and you may call me boring.
You kind of do. You kind of do sound like a United fan, but it's true. These are the things that are happening. But then you talk to people, fans on the outside, and we just look crazy. Oh yeah, we're always blaming the Glazers. And yeah, there's some things that you can't blame the Glazers for. Ultimately, the performances of the pitch are not the fault of the Glazers. Little bit, I would say about 2%, because at the end of the day, they're the one that authorize these transfers, and we just need to get sensible football people in. But at the end of the day, the performances on the pitch are solely the fault of the manager and the players. So you can't blame the Glazers then. But 90% of the terrible things that have happened in United are because of the Glazers. So
because I'm saying what they've always said, but there's a reason why. And I was like you, if you believe that they're just finding an excuse and blaming the Glazers for everything. And I get why it seems that way, but they really are not good for the club, like quantifiably. And look, the signs were there when they first joined, and they were protests even at Old Trafford, even when they were good winning the trophies. You can find this online, it's quite easy to find out. So the idea that United fans are only against the Glazers because they're losing is false, as they were always protesting against them, even when they were winning trophies under Fergie. And if you don't believe me, then Google it. Actually, Google this: the origins of the FC United of Manchester. Look up the reasons why, and it gives you a good reason of why the Glazers out movement have always been a thing ever since they first took the reins at Old Trafford. Why? You may say, well, one key reason was how they got the club in the first place. In 2005, they completed a £790 million takeover of Manchester United. However, of that 790 million, only 270 million was of their own money. The rest was borrowed against the club, instantly putting Manchester United, that before were not in any debt, in £500 million worth of debt. The club instantly was in debt because of the Glazers, and since 1992 and 2005, so they doubled the size of Old Trafford to one that holds 75,000 fans, and ever since they've joined, they have not implemented any changes or improvements to not just the stadium or the training facilities ever since. Old Trafford was seen as a shining light in English football culture, even more than Wembley at the time period when he first joined. one of the most iconic grounds becoming a crumbling mess, and people think this is just people being overzealous or just going over the top, but many articles, hundreds, can be found about the state of the stadium, rusting and rotting around the ground, mice being found inside the stadium, the leaky roof has been brought up 1,000 times, and even more frustratingly, £200 million were meant to be put towards renovation of the stadium, in which was rejected. This was meant to be in February of 2021 and would ideally get it to expand to 90,000 people. This of course would take time and money, and they decided otherwise. And then there's Carrington, a once state-of-the-art training centre, has quickly become just mediocre in comparison to rivals. I mean, compare Carrington to Leicester City, for example. I mean, it cannot be any different. Even players that have gone from United to other clubs, for example, Reading, a player called Charlie Savage went from United to Reading, and he said that he would put the Reading training ground on par with United at the minute. This was all brought up when Ronaldo did his interview with Piers Morgan, saying that nothing has changed since Ferguson.
Yeah, Ronaldo did say that the training ground, nothing changed since he left, which is crazy. Because he left when 2009 is when he left. That is what, 14 years? Yeah, it's just not great. It's just not great.
Since retirement. And as he went on to say that the Glazers are not footballing people, and they do not know or understand the sport and what it means to be Manchester United. And I cannot lie, even I have got no skin in this game. I am not part of this. I'm just a Burnley fan. I respect United for what they've done and ruined mine and everyone's childhoods, but United should be more than this. Think about it. Look back to the 2000s and the 90s. Ryan Giggs, Eric Cantona, Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo, even the likes of Carlos Tevez, Berbatov, footballers, ballers, true artists of the game. They were the standard. They are the standard of English football. Hence why they won title after title after title, and they shaped the game to what it is. Until a certain point. Here lies the definition of insanity. Ever since Fergie, who was a perfect manager at the perfect time, every new manager, every new player that comes in has the weight of Fergie and the success and the legacy at United on their shoulders, and for the large majority it buries them. The media attention, a constant barrage of just chaos from either outside or within. Of course, many times in the past we've had players come out and leak information from within its own training ground. Player power being a very common theme, and if you look at their previous managers, I mean, they've all kind of led down the same line. We can leave Ralph Rangnick because, I mean, I forget that he was even there, so he's not really part of it. He's just ignoring. So, Ollie, right? Ollie came in to be a temporary manager after Jose Mourinho got sacked, who wasn't meant to really be there, but just to do the job and kind of just settle the ship and to keep it afloat. And he did a very decent job when he first joined, and he made United feel like United again, that they relied largely on breaking teams in the counter with their pace, the likes of Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood at the time, and this worked quite well against especially top level teams when they actually were able to really drop deep and hit them on the break. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was always destined to fail. People forget how good Ole was in that first caretaker spell. He won his first 8 games in charge. Solskjaer was one of them, one of their own, and he was popular with the staff, popular with the players, and popular with the fans, but he never really had that edge to him to really make him a United manager, to really go to that elite level. There were players that he trusted and players that he did not trust. I remember very well there was an entire saga on Donny van der Beek, who everyone was demanding that he must play, and he just never really played and was clearly very nervous to really play him. Next year, he continued and got them into the top 4. That was his first full season, and in his second full season, finishing second place. Of course, not really anywhere in a title fight with City, but a second place finish was seen as not a success, but definitely a massive improvement compared to what United have been used to in previous years. And then came the third full season in 21-22, in which they started crashing down with 5 wins and 5 losses in his first 12 games. What about Mourinho? Well, Mourinho was always seen to be the one to really bring United back to being United, us against the world, a similar mentality that he had at Chelsea that made him so successful, being solid at the back and being pragmatic in almost every single game and doing whatever it takes to get the win. However, if you are concerned about the weight of Man United and the media suffocating a player, then imagine having Jose Mourinho as your manager and the media speculation around it. Yeah, it was a recipe for disaster looking back on it. He joined United in the 16-17 season alongside the likes of Paul Pogba being brought in, and it felt like the new era of United. And his first year, there were some signs there that they could be onto something. Also, don't forget Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and they won the Carabao Cup, and also they won the Europa League in his first year. And despite not being in the top 4 in that year, winning the Europa League clinched them Champions League qualification. It is spent relatively big on the likes of Romelu Lukaku from Everton, Matic, Lindelof and Alexis Sanchez, and this got United to a second place finish in what Jose Mourinho labelled as a massive achievement. And then came the third season where the money that they thought they would have had seemingly wasn't there, and they only really got 2 signings of any real note in Fred and Diogo Dalot, and that was it. And there is no surprise that
I mean, I love Jose personally. I look like he's probably my favorite. I mean, after Sir Alex Ferguson anyway, my favorite manager of all time. But he was crying out desperately for centre backs to be bought because he felt he needed defensive reinforcements or whatnot after finishing second. Like he was really banging on the door and he wasn't getting answers, so he went to the media. Was his whole swell. He wasn't backed, and he ended up not like. To be fair, there's also the whole Jose Mourinho 3-year cycle thing to take into account, but he just wasn't backed in his third season after finishing second to the 100 points Man City. So yeah, we're just a mess, man.
Of course, Mourinho got sacked in that season. Of course, there's also Louis van Gaal that had a interesting 2 seasons at the club. First year, Louis van Gaal, the likes of Angel Di Maria, Luke Shaw, and Herrera, finishing in the top 4, getting Champions League football. And then in the second year, just falling out of the top 4 by goal difference up against Man City. A fall-off period by December made it really tough for them in the rest of the season. And then there's Moyes as well, but I kind of feel bad for Moyes because really he was always going to fail. Once you come off the back of Sir Alex, no matter who it was, you were always going to fail. So we go back to Ten Hag now, and where are we at? Well, there are factors to say why Ten Hag should be given a chance. There is a unrelenting injury crisis at the club, multiple off-field controversies and distractions, and uncertainty over the club's ownership for the future. The pressure is growing, but what other choice does he or the players have? Who would replace him? Elite level proven managers don't really swap one job for another, especially one which already has such a cursed chalice, so to say. By sacking Ten Hag, you will only be continuing the cycle of insanity and not making it any better. In my opinion, I don't think really any manager can get success at United until the Glazers are completely gone, and if this new ownership is really up to the task, and that is still a big if. Jim Ratcliffe, of course, is the man that is looking like he's taking the reins after the Qatar bid was deemed unsuccessful. Irrelevant of your opinions on Qatar ownership or not at United, that is definitely one opportunity that could be looked back on as a missed opportunity, as realistically that was always seen as the best option for the club for success. Erik Ten Hag is not the problem. He's just becoming part of the problem, and the problems are many. Tell me your thoughts down below on United, and until the Glazers go, the cycle of insanity at United will always continue. I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, man. What can I say? Great video by Vizier, but we're just a mess. We're just a mess. If you sack Ten Hag, okay, but that's deserve. Even heck, get Pep Guardiola in. He's going to struggle. he's going. He may get because he's a better manager, so he will get probably better stuff out of the players that he has. But give it 3 years. If the Glazers don't go, if the footballing structure is not right, and obviously this is fantasy line because it's never going to come to United. But if the footballing structure side of the club is not sorted out, if you just plug and play Pep into this, he is going to struggle. No manager is going to have success at Manchester United until everyone above the manager, from the footballing side, director of football, technical director, whatever, up until the owners, is cleared out and replaced with competent people that know what they're doing, people that have experience, not jobs for the boys where we're just bringing in old players and telling them to come do a job. That's just not how we're going to move forward. So yeah, man, hopefully that's the last time I have to watch a United video, at least currently anyway. I don't mind going back and reminiscing on the good old days. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Link to the original video will be in the description below, and until next time,